When you take a pill, you just trust it. You trust that it's safe and that it's going to work. But have you ever wondered what happens right before that medicine gets shipped out? It all comes down to a single signature, the final gatekeeper between the factory and you. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and see exactly what it takes to earn that signature. And this is why it matters so much. This isn't some abstract concept. This happened. A single mistake, a simple mix-up of ingredients, and people died. This tragic story is the ultimate reminder that this process we're about to explore isn't just about ticking boxes. It's about life and death. So, okay, that naturally leads to the big question, right? What's in place to prevent a disaster like that from happening again? What are the checks, the systems, the gatekeepers that build safety into every single dose? Well, the answer lies in a department most people have never even heard of: quality assurance, or just QA. These are the folks who have the final say. You could have a batch of medicine worth millions of dollars, ready to go, but it goes absolutely nowhere until one person in QA has reviewed every last piece of evidence and gives it their official, legally binding signature. So what's this number? 148. In the last 5 years, that's how many times the US FDA cited a drug company for failure to establish and follow product release procedures. And get this, it is the single most common serious problem that FDA inspectors find. That tells you everything you need to know about where their focus is. They live and breathe this stuff during an inspection. All right, so let's put on our inspector glasses for a minute. The very first thing we demand to see is the batch's life story. It's a huge binder, sometimes thousands of pages long, called the Batch Manufacturing Record, or BMR. And we would read this thing cover to cover, like a detective novel. We're looking for any plot holes. Was the mixing time exactly 60 minutes, not 61? Can we trace every single ingredient back to the day it arrived? Is every single step signed and dated by the person who did it at the exact time they did it? Any little thing that's off is a huge red flag that an inspector is going to pounce on.
Okay, so the BMR, the story, checks out. Everyone followed the recipe. But an inspector would never just take your word for it. They need to see the proof. They need cold, hard scientific data.
And this is it. This is the product's final report card. It's called a certificate of analysis. The lab runs a whole bunch of tests on the finished product, and an inspector is going to look at this and confirm that every single result falls smack in the middle of the specification column. Not close. It has to be within the approved range. There is zero wiggle room here.
But real life is messy. Manufacturing isn't always perfect. And honestly, the real test of a company's quality system isn't whether it's perfect, it's how it handles things when they inevitably go wrong. This is where an FDA inspector will spend a ton of their time.
So inspectors are hunting for two main types of problems. You have a deviation, which is when the process didn't quite go as planned, like that mixing step running a little long. Then you have an out of specification, or OOS. That's the more serious one. It's when the final product actually fails one of its tests. For an inspector, it's not enough to just write it down. They want to know that the company dug in and truly understood why it happened.
And this is the process they expect to see. It's called CAPA. Corrective and preventive action. You can't just say, oops, we'll be more careful. No way. You have to investigate and find the real root cause. Then you have to propose a corrective action to fix this problem now and a preventive action to make sure it can never, ever happen again. An inspector is going to follow that paper trail to make sure that loop is completely closed.
So we've checked the story of the batch, and we've checked how they handle mistakes, but an inspector also needs to check the foundations of the whole operation. I mean, how do we even trust that the manufacturing process works, or that the lab tests are accurate in the first place? Well, the answer is this really powerful concept called validation. It's not just a one-time check. Validation is the process of creating a mountain of scientific evidence that proves your system does what you say it does, and that it will do it consistently, time after time. It's basically proof that replaces hope. And validation isn't just one thing. It's this whole interconnected ecosystem of proof. An inspector will check these pillars that hold up every single batch. Is the manufacturing process itself validated to produce a good product? Is the cleaning procedure validated to obliterate any trace of what was made before? Are the lab tests validated to give accurate results? If any of these pillars has a crack, the whole structure is at risk. So, after digging through the batch's story, the hard scientific data, the investigations into every little problem, and the foundational pillars of validation, we finally get to the last step, the moment of truth for the quality assurance manager. Before that pen ever touches the paper, they go through this final checklist in their head. Is the batch record complete and without errors? Does every single piece of data meet the spec? Have all the problems been fully investigated, solved, and closed? Is the whole system standing on a solid foundation of validation? Only when the answer to all of these questions is a clear and confident yes, only then can they sign their name. So in the end, that signature, it's not just ink, it's a declaration. It's a statement of trust that is built on a massive mountain of verifiable evidence. It's a huge, complex, invisible system working behind the scenes to keep us safe. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other invisible systems of trust are out there silently protecting us every single day?